welcome to Maths Live. I hope you're all okay. Your starter challenge is a recap from yesterday, so I've asked you to round these numbers to the nearest 10. You've got 114, 728, 1,294 and then 17,875. Give those a go. I'll give you a minute or so. What a cold day it is today. That's why the jumpers made a return. So we've got Kian in Norwich. Hello Kian, thank you for joining in. And we've got Iona in Tunbridge Wells. Hello. Okay, put those underneath. Right, so rounding these numbers to the nearest 10. So when we're rounding to the nearest 10, we've got to, it doesn't matter the size of the numbers, we need to focus on the tens and the ones. So remember, when we're rounding to the nearest 10, it's the, stop moving, it's the 10 value that tells us which one we're going to, and it's the ones that tell us bosses the tens around. So for example, if we have the number 43, it's either going to be the tens that we're currently in, which is 40, or it's going to be the next long 110 that is up, which is 50. And it's the 3 that bosses the number around. And because it's 3, that means we have to go down to 40. So 43 to the nearest 10 is 40. If, however, it was 46, for example, we'd have to go up to 50. And that is because if the value next to the one you're rounding is 1, 2, 4, that means you round down or you stick. Okay? And if it is 5 to 9, you round up to the next value of, for example, 10. So here, we're rounding to the nearest 10. We've got 114. Now, we're going into the hundreds, but we still focus on the tens and the ones. So ignore the 100 for now, it's 14. So 14 to the nearest 10. 4 means stick or round down, so we stay in the group of tens that we're in, which is 10. So we know 14 to the nearest 10 is 10, but don't forget the 100 that's also in that question. So number 1's 110. Number 2, 728. Right, let's focus on the tens and the ones. 28 to the nearest 10. Because it's an 8, we need to round up. So it is 30. But don't forget the 100 that's also in that number. So 728 to the nearest 10 is 730. 1,294. So we're focusing on the tens and the ones. The ones tell us what to do because it's next to the tens. It's a 4, so we need to round down, or we stick. So it's 90, but don't forget the rest of the number. So it's not 90. So 1,294 to the nearest 10 is not 90. You've got to include the whole number, so it's 1,290. And the last one, we've got 17,875. I'm just going to do this up here so I've got a bit more space. 75 to the nearest 10. 5 means round up. So 75 to the nearest 10 is 80, but we don't forget about the rest of the number. So 17,875 to the nearest 10 is 17,880. Good. Okay, so today we're rounding to the nearest 100. And the technique is very much the same, but rather than the tens being changed, it might be the hundreds being changed. And rather than the ones doing the bossing around, it's now the tens that do the bossing around. So let me show you an example. Okay. So say we have the number 327. Now then, we're rounding to the nearest 100. Here is our hundreds column. Hundreds, tens, ones. It's currently in the 300s. And the next 100, the next multiple of 100, the one that goes after that, on the number line, would be 400. And 327 is in between 300 and 400. So we need to know whether we're rounding to 300, we're sticking, or we're going up. Now, we're not going to the ones this time. We go to the next digit along from the hundreds, which is the tens. So now, it is the tens that do the bossing around. When we're rounding to the nearest 100, it is the tens. It's a 2, and the rule still applies. If it's 1 to 4, we round down or we stick. And if it's 5 to 9, we round up. So it's a 2, that means we stick. So 327 to the nearest 100 is 300. There's nothing else that comes after it. It can't be 320 because 320 is not a multiple of 100. Your answer either has to be 200, 300, 400, maybe 2,600, maybe 15,800. It always has to end in 100. Okay, another example. I threw my rubber right across the room, my board rubber. Okay, another example. 5,281. So here is my hundreds. Okay, because we've got thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones. Okay, and here is the tens, and this is the number value digit that's going to do the bossing around. We're currently in the 200s. Okay. So we're currently in the 200s, which is 5,200, and the next one up is 300, which would be 5,300. So which one of it is it going to be in? We're currently in the 200s, so it's the tens that's going to boss us around, and it's an 8, and 8 means round up. You can even see that if you're on the number line from 5,200 to 5,300, 5,280, for example, has to be around here. And you can see it's much closer on this side to this side. So 5,281 rounded to the nearest 100 is 5,300, because if you get rid of the 1,000, you can see 281 to the nearest 100 is 300. I'll show you one more before I put the challenge questions up. So this time, we're going to do 17,422. Okay, 17,422. We're rounded to the nearest 100. Here is our hundreds digit. And here's the tens that's going to do the bossing around. I'm going to ignore this part first. 422. It's currently in the 400s. Could it go up to the 500s? Well, no. Because the number next to it, the digit next to it, is a 2, and 2 means stick. So we stick in the 400s, but don't forget the rest of the number. So 17,422 to the nearest 100 is 17,400. Okay. 3 challenge questions. If you're not sure what I mean by the 3 challenge questions, they're put up at 10 o'clock each morning before the lesson. You can do them at 10 o'clock, you can do them at 12 o'clock, you can do them 5 minutes before the lesson starts. It's up to you. If you've already done them, it's good to check. It's good to think, right, Steph just showed me that, I'll check my answers. So today is Wednesday, so question 1 is, what is 345 to the nearest 100? So remember, each of these is nearest 100. So it's 345. Question 2 is 8,236. And question 3 is 76,634. Ooh, Steph's been challenging with that one. give those a go or give those a check if you've already had a look at it. Let's see. Ooh, the feed's been busy. Okay. Really well done, Kian, for joining in. Hello. Oh, well done. Hi, James and Alex in London. Thank you for joining in. Hi, Malik in Bahrain. Bahrain, how amazing. Thank you for joining in. I like that you put the little flag on there as well. Oh, we've got answers coming in. Brilliant. I like that James and Alex are tuned in. They're not just watching, they're tuned in. I'll give you 30 more seconds on the 3 questions. Right, let's have a look. So, nearest 100. 345. We know 345 is in between 300 and 400. Here's the hundreds digit, and here's the ones which do the bossing around. It's a 4, so that means we round down or we stick. So the answer is 300. Okay. Second question. The 2 is in the 100, and the 3 tens tell us what to do. 3 tells us to round down or stick, so we stick in the 200s. But don't forget the 8,000 is still part of that number. 8,236 is not 200 to the nearest 100. You can't forget about that 8,000. And the last one, 6 is the hundreds digit. 3 tells us what to do. So if we focus on 634, 634 to the nearest 100 is 600. But we don't forget about the rest of the number, so it's 76,600. All 3 questions involve rounding down. Right, challenge question time. Okay. I'll do 3 questions at a time. Question 1. What is 2995 to the nearest 100? What is 13,782 to the nearest 100? And number 3, what is 331,892 to the nearest 100? Give those a go. Same technique. Same method. And this next lot of challenges are going to be a bit of chopping and changing from yesterday. Oh, well done, Malik and Bahrain, giving these answers. The last set of questions, brilliant. Again, thank you to those of you who are inboxing. I can see that people are doing the answers inboxing. That's absolutely fine. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a see. So nearest 100. So in 2,995, the 9 is the hundreds, and it's the tens value that tell us what to do. Right. It's in the 900s, but the 9 tells us to round up. So what's the next 100 after 900? What is 900 plus 100? It is 1,000. So we have to go into the next 1,000. We think, well, how do I do that? How do I change this so it goes into the next 1,000? Basically, we're now in here, and now the 2 becomes the next 1,000 along. So 2,995 to the nearest 100 is 3,000, because it's budging the hundreds up and interrupting the thousands column. Okay, those are the trickier ones. Okay, 13,782. The 7s is the hundreds column, and it's the 8 that tells it what to do. Let's have a look. 782. We're in the 700s. The 8 tells us to round up, so we need to go to the next 100. The next 100 after 700 is 800. Don't forget the rest of the numbers not being interrupted this time. That's exactly the same. And then the last question, the 8 is the 100, and the 9 tells us what to do. So 892, we're in the 800s. The 9 tells us to go up to the next 100, which is 900. And then don't forget about the rest of the number, otherwise you have a completely different number as your answer. 331,900. Right. Super challenge now. Last 3 questions. Or is it 6 questions? Okay. Question 1, question 2, and question 3. I'm going to rub this out and you'll see why. I'm going to give you 300. Really doing a lot of 3s today. Don't do anything yet. Don't do anything yet. Don't write anything yet. And these numbers, I'd like you to round them first to the nearest 10. And then to the nearest 100. So you can, I said yesterday that yesterday's would be the shortest lesson. So for example, round this number to the nearest 10, there's your answer, and then come back to the original number, go write this number to the nearest 100. Give that a go. I told you it wasn't just 3 questions. Brilliant, well done. It doesn't matter if you do, you round all 3 to the nearest 10 first, and then you go back to them and do the hundreds, or if you want to do question 1, round to the nearest 10 and then carry on to the nearest 100. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Bahrain. Malik, what time is it in Bahrain? Tell me what time it is. I'm trying to work out what it will be. So about the time now is nearly 2 o'clock. It's nearly 2 o'clock, so maybe nearly 5 o'clock, possibly. I'm not very good at my time difference, but something about, is it about 5 o'clock in the afternoon / evening? Tell me. It's interesting to know a bit of geography involved in my maths lessons. Okay, let's have a look. 372. First of all, to the nearest 10. Okay, so we're focusing on the tens column here, and the 2 tells us what to do. 72 to the nearest 10 is 70. Don't forget the 3. And then to the nearest 100, I'm going to write this in black actually, because I don't want to keep chopping and changing colours. I love using my colours, but I don't want to keep chopping and changing. So 370. And then to the nearest 100, focus on the hundreds column, and the 7 tells us what to do. Because it's 7, it tells us to round up, so it's not going to be 300, it's going to be 400. Okay, so if you got that right, amazing. If you think, oh, that's what you do, that's great, you're learning. This question, nearest 10. Here's our tens column, the 9, and the 2 tells us what to do. So, we hide that. 92 to the nearest 10. Is it 90 or is it 100? 90. The 2 tells us to round down. And now this time to the nearest 100. Here's our 100. The 9 tells us what to do, so ignore the 1,000. 892. We're currently in the 800s, but the 9 tells us to round up to the next 100, which is 900. Don't forget about your 1. I'm going to give you a few more seconds for that last one. So. Well done. Oh, it's just 2 hours ahead. Fine. Oh, cool. Hi, Shemay and Coventry. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. Hope you're okay. So the last one. Nearest 10. Here is our tens, okay, and the ones tell us what to do. So if we cover the rest up, it's 48. 48 is the nearest 10. Is it 40 or is it the next one up, which is 50? 8 tells us to round up to 50, but don't forget about the rest of the number. So 5, 5, 4, 50. And then when we're doing it to the nearest 100, 4 is the hundreds. The other 4 next to it tells us what to do. So 448 to the nearest 100. We're in the 400s. 4 means round down or stick. So we're sticking into the 400s. And then don't forget the rest of the number. 55,400. Great. So not only in today's lesson have you learned to round to the nearest 100, you've also practiced learning to the nearest 10 and 100, so blending the two. When you're in year 6, Harold in year 6, you will be given a number. We'll see this tomorrow. You'll be given one number and you'll be asked to round to the nearest 10 and then the nearest 100 and definitely then the nearest 1,000, and I might have some questions like that tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining in. As I said, tomorrow we're going to be rounding to the nearest 1,000, but before I go, just want to remind you there is a competition. It's a design competition to do with Maths Live. I'm going to put it on my page later on, about 3 o'clock, 3:30, after this lesson's finished. Please have a go. I've got lots of entries, but I know some of you are budding designers, so have a look when I repost it. The closing date is Friday, about this time on Friday, so you've got a couple of days yet to enter. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.